Hello, welcome to my UFC 225 recap. Feels like ages since I've done a video because I did the tips and predictions really early last week, but quite a lot to talk about. Huge card yesterday, another successful day for me on the betting front. Really happy with that. 2 good weeks in a row now after my little slump, and feeling like I'm back on track. Anyhow, my contacts will all be in the description below, but for the record, Instagram and Twitter is louknux DTD, and my email is louknux@gmail.com. Lots of interacting this week, discussing betting. There's some interesting discussions that went on that I don't really want to get into or address. I'm here to talk about MMA predominantly. I will sidetrack occasionally, but yeah, I don't want to get into my political views or anything like that. But there was a bit of that and some wild things said. So yeah, people in the comments, yeah, I don't know. Just do what you do, I guess, and I will address what I deem worth addressing. I guess we'll start with a rundown of the card. Pretty crazy event. Heaps of really close decisions, and I guess this was a big talking point coming out of UFC Liverpool, was judging criteria and how that's done. And I guess what came out of this card even bigger this time, because there's so many fights that could have gone either way, and you could reasonably call them either way and not be wrong. And I wonder what happens going forward. Probably nothing, I imagine, but it would be nice to see them work out a system that was more definitive. And but yeah, it's just so much is open to interpretation, so hence why you get the crazy results from the judges. Some are wild. I think it was the Pettis Benavidez fight where Pettis got a 30-27 and he did like nothing in the final round. So crazy. I don't know how that judge came up with that score. Like, most things are defendable, but sometimes the judges' scorecards are nuts. So yeah, an interesting one there. But I'll start top to bottom this time. I think usually I work my way up, but I'll start at the top. Beginning with Whittaker and Romero. Yeah, lots of drama going into the fight, and then yeah, perhaps you thought that would be all the drama done with, the fight would take place, but nah, the fight was so dramatic, so entertaining. Yeah, those guys just match up so well and put on such an entertaining fight. Whittaker again, injuring himself in the first round, this time breaking his hand. You have to admire his toughness. And I think it might have been after round 2 he was in the corner telling them his hand was fucked. Maybe it was after round 3. And you're just like, the way he was saying it was like, fuck, this is really bothering him, and will he continue? But of course he's going to continue, because he's Robert Whittaker and he's a champion. Hard fight to score. I think Whittaker definitely got rounds 1, 2, and 4, I think it was. Yeah, and Romero scored knockdowns in both rounds 3 and 5, so you'd have to give those to him. Whittaker rallied in round 3 and landed a lot of his own stuff, so I think you'd say that was a 10-9 to Romero. The debate, I would say, is mainly around the final round, whether that was a 10-8 or not. I don't really want to weigh in on that. I think, yeah, my bias will come into play here. I had money on Whittaker, so I was happy he won. But I think you could make a really good argument for the case of that being a 10-8 to Romero, and then the fight resulting in a draw. So, split decision in the end. One judge had the fight going Romero's way, which I think is pretty reasonable, and 2 had it going Whittaker, which I also think is reasonable. So either way, Whittaker would have remained champion, but it would have been really strange had he lost but retained the belt. I guess then they would have had to do a 3rd fight, but then they would have had to worry about Romero making weight again, all that sort of shit. Yeah, tricky situation to be in, but I think as far as the title and things moving forward, best result for the UFC happened. Whittaker wins, retains his belt, obviously, because he would have retained it either way. But and they can move on to a new opponent, and perhaps Romero looks at 205, but I think he'll be reluctant. He, rightfully so, has a claim on that middleweight belt, and he's earned that shot, and I think he's earned another shot because that fight was so close, but he's missed weight twice in 2 title fights. So there's a good argument to be made that they can't rely on him to make championship weight, and therefore I think we will see Whittaker fight someone else in his next fight. And in regards to that, Whittaker's so exciting. He's really young and he keeps adding to his game. I don't think we got to see much new from him in this fight because of the injury, and he like gassed a bit after that first knockdown he took from Romero. He wasn't as mobile and agile after that, but yeah, he's fucking incredible and has, what is he going to achieve in this division? I think he's twice defeated Romero now, who is got to be one of the most incredible athletes we've ever seen. So dangerous. And Whittaker seems to be the only guy who can recover from getting dropped by Romero. I don't think we've ever seen that before. But yeah, real concerns about Whittaker being injury prone now at a very young age. And maybe that's just the cost of doing battle with Romero. Maybe against other opponents his body will hold up. I hope so. It would be a real shame if injury kind of curtailed what is set to be a pretty incredible and possibly Hall of Fame career. You could imagine Rob ruling this division for a while. Saying that, there's guys coming up who are going to challenge soon, so I'm looking forward to hopefully one day an Adesanya versus Whittaker fight, which I guess would be kind of a trans-Tasman battle now, being that Whittaker's Australian-based fighter, New Zealand-born. But yeah, excellent fight. Anyhow, excuse me, just give my green tea. Down to the co-main event. Another bet I cashed on Colby Chaos Covington. I think I saw heaps of people whose judgment was clouded by what they think of Covington, and man, like, I don't know how serious all the Trump shit is, whether he's just trolling again. His best friend is Jorge Masvidal, who is Mexican, right? So I know, like, you could be a racist and have a Mexican friend as well, but it just seems odd. But yeah, I think people's judgment is clouded by what they think of Covington, and lots of people thought and were voting with their hearts, I think, and wanted RDA to win. I voted with sensibility. I watched the tape and put my money on Covington, and the fight played out pretty much exactly how I thought. Covington, just that pace he puts on people was crazy, and he just had RDA moving backwards the entire fight. RDA couldn't set up and get his strikes off, and got interesting, I think, in the 3rd round, or was it the 4th, when RDA started shooting takedowns and taking Covington down. He looked really good then, and it looked like the fight could turn possibly, but just, man, fighting Colby Covington looks so fucking exhausting. Like, just imagine being in there with him and he just keeps pressing forward. And he's real happy to exchange. You hit him and he just comes forward. Yeah, like RDA was trying everything, but he couldn't get much off just because of that constant pressure. And yeah, Covington's off to the White House apparently to put his belt on Trump's desk. Fuck, that's gonna be hilarious if that happens. I personally, I just said earlier, I don't want to get into politics, but I find Donald Trump abhorrent and reprehensible. But I am kind of so Colby Covington, I don't find his shtick funny or clever. It's really, really juvenile and stupid, calling people virgins. Nerd Bash 2018. But what I do find funny is the way people react to him, because he is eliciting the response that he wants, and people are playing into that by giving him that response. So, real interesting. I don't know if anyone saw in the press conference afterwards, and someone asked him about, because John Jones has been going at him, saying stuff on Twitter and whatnot and Instagram, and they questioned him about John Jones, and he responded real strangely. So he was, what did he say? He's like, I've got no comment on that. He is who he is. And I was trying to figure out what was happening there, and one theory I had is like, maybe John Jones is a dude that will actually get at you. Like, he's obviously been known to do some wild shit, and maybe Colby isn't gonna respond to John Jones because he thinks John Jones might turn up at his doorstep or some shit. That's what I could draw from that. I could be totally wrong, but just something interesting. I thought, like, he's so prepared to talk shit on anyone, but when John Jones's name came up, he went tight-lipped, which I thought was strange. But yeah, so Covington gets himself an interim belt. He insists it's the undisputed real championship belt, which is obviously not the case. Tyron Woodley's starting to respond to him, so looks like that fight will be made. Where are we? Middle of the year, so yeah, sometime near the end of the year, I think we'll see that fight. And that's just off the top of my head, I favor Tyron in that fight. And yeah, I think Tyron can cancel out the wrestling probably, and obviously Tyron has crazy power, so we'll see. Like, obviously Colby's shown a good chin up until this point, but we'll see how good his chin really is if he gets cracked by Tyron Woodley, which I think will happen. So yeah, I favor Tyron in that fight, and it could be the great turnaround for Tyron Woodley, the much maligned champion. People generally don't seem to like him very much, and he could come out of that fight looking like a hero. Like, imagine it now, if he finishes Colby, drops him with one of those huge punches, Colby goes out, Tyron's a hero, and then he can carry on from there. Maybe, I don't know, maybe people will just love him for that one fight and then they'll go back to hating him, but he could be a hero for at least a moment. So something to look forward to. I think that build-up will be funny as well. Colby's obviously going to give him heaps of shit, so we'll see what happens there. Next fight, another bet cashed on Holly Holm. I put a late bet on Holly because the line shifted. People, it seems, after the weigh-in saw how big Megan Anderson was, and people were placing money on Megan Anderson to win. But so Holly, the line went up. I had her as part of a parlay with Claudia Gadelha as well, but I put a straight pick bet on Holly Holm as well once her line shifted. And whilst she won, it wasn't the way I expected her to. I expected her to be too mobile and to strike from distance, but Anderson did a real good job of like closing space and getting her against the cage, and I think she clipped Holly a few times, and Holly wanted no part of it. took the fight to the ground and showed us a ground game. Hard to know what to make of her ground game. Like, obviously a great performance on the ground in this fight, but we don't know how good Megan Anderson's ground defense is. It looked pretty average, so. But pretty admirable of Holly Holm, a striker, and that's all we've really seen from her is her striking in her clinch game, and pretty amazing for her to change tack mid-fight, or at the beginning of the fight actually, and get a win by changing her tactics. She's got a good corner too, obviously. So pretty impressive win for her. Cashed the bet, obviously, which made me happy. And interesting to see what happens next. I think, it's a real hard one because she's had all those losses, and both those divisions she can fight in are pretty fucking dead. So yeah, hard to know what will happen, whether she'll go, her next fight will be 135. And they could put her against Nunes, but I wouldn't like her chances. And then the other option is to rematch her with Cyborg, which I'm not in any particular hurry to see. So we'll see what happens there. Next fight, Tai Tuivasa versus Andrei Arlovski. Another bet cash. So I didn't realize at the time, but I bet on the top 4 fights, which I haven't done before. So, and they're all cashed as well. Tai Tuivasa, I think, answered a lot of questions in this fight, but also you saw some of the holes in his game as well, which I don't think is necessarily a negative thing. I think it was good for him to go out and fight 15 minutes against a legend, have a hard fight. He got something interesting, I thought, was how bad he cut and his face got marked up. I wonder if that's just something he's going to be prone to, but not great for him if that is the case. Like, his face was a fucking mess, and yeah, obviously, you know, there's things that can happen as a result of that fight's being stopped and judges being swayed by the damage they see. But yeah, really good fight by him. I watched a fight of his that was from just like 2 years ago, and he gassed really bad in it. He won the fight, but he gassed really early and really bad after a couple of small grappling exchanges, and he's obviously done heaps of work on that because the gas tank held up. He was still moving all right. But yeah, quite a few. I guess the real positive thing is he's so young, and he is improving rapidly, and there's heaps of time for him to plug those holes in his game. Yeah, so real excited to see where he goes. I hope they don't rush him too fast, but I mean, he just beat Arlovski, so you'd imagine he'll get a top 10 guy next, maybe. And that division's so thin that it's hard to build a guy up. But I think in heavyweight and MMA in general, you can take losses and come back and still have a good career. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. Like, he's undefeated at this point, I think 11-0. And he will take a loss at some point in his career. I imagine that's just what happens, right? Especially at heavyweight. But he obviously still has a bright future in the UFC and many, many years to go. If he's anything like a typical heavyweight, he's got a good 15 or so. So see what happens there. There was a prop bet you could make on his fight that he would do a shoey with Joe Rogan after the fight, and he tried to do a shoey with Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan wouldn't give up his shoe, which I thought was really, really sad. If that would have been such a legendary moment, if Rogan had given up the shoe. He should have known, and he should have brought a spare pair, because I do understand him not wanting to get his shoe drenched with alcohol and then have to wear it, but wish he brought a spare pair and had preempted that, because that would have been fucking amazing. Like, that would have gone viral as fuck. But yeah, great win for Tai. Close fight again, but he did get the unanimous decision. So congratulations to him. Another Australasian fighter doing excellent things. And so the Aussies on the card, Rob, Tai, and Megan had a good day out. I think. Well, Megan didn't obviously, but 2 out of 3, not bad. Good day for Australian MMA. I'm looking forward to more cards where that happens. It's going to like a bunch of New Zealand fighters now, a bunch of Aussies all coming up and doing well. Wow. The next fight, Mike Jackson versus CM Punk, and it felt bizarre watching this shit. It was terrible. CM Punk, like, you must have heard people before arguing about the athletic merit of wrestlers, and I'm sure there's some guys who in the like WWE and shit who are really good athletes, but CM Punk ain't an athlete. Like, he looked fucking terrible. I saw someone on Twitter saying he had the power of featherweight and the cardio of a heavyweight, which was pretty apt, apart from maybe the power that's probably insulting to featherweights. But yeah, he just got pieced up. Mike Jackson fucked around a little bit. Like, did you see Dana go off at him in the post-fight press conference? Was real mad at Mike Jackson. It's like, hold on. This fight was a mockery to begin with, and Mike Jackson made a bit more of a mockery of it, but he didn't book the fight and he didn't put it on pay-per-view. So I think Dana White and the UFC have only got themselves to blame for what transpired in the octagon. But yeah, that shit was fucking terrible. And fuck again with the bullshit, people saying, oh, good on CM Punk for following his dreams. And it's like, if I had millions of dollars in my bank account and could do whatever the fuck I wanted with my time, I could go train and parlay my fame into a UFC fight and get paid $500,000 to take a beating from Mike Jackson and Mickey Gall. Like, I don't find anything fucking admirable about it at all. There's like people training to fight, like relying on family, people who are really sacrificing to pursue a dream. CM Punk don't have to sacrifice shit. He's rich. He can just go and afford to do this, and I don't find it admirable at all. In fact, I find it a little patronizing and shitty, and it's like a horrible case of not staying in your lane, line jumping, all this other bullshit. So fuck CM Punk and fuck people that think he deserves our admiration or respect for going and getting another ass kicking, because it was bullshit. I'll try and run through these remaining fights quite quickly, but I probably have quite a bit to say about them anyhow, so we'll see. Curtis Blades defeating Alistair Overeem via 3rd round TKO. That finish was fucking brutal, and I think maybe after the 2nd round I was tweeting, and I said it before the fight too, I was like, why are people so gassed about Blades? And I must admit that I am a little biased, because whenever someone lays on Mark Hunt, I get real fucking mad at them and remain mad and hold a grudge. So I'm still angry at Stipe for doing that to Mark Hunt, and that was years ago. So there is a bit of that here, but I just find his style, like, it's not real fan friendly. It's kind of boring to me. He's obviously really fucking good and young and improving. He looks better each time. Like, physically he looks better as well. Like, he looks in better shape each time he fights. And that finish was amazing. Like, that was that's highlight reel shit. But just the rest of the fight, I don't know, like lying in half guard, doing fuck all damage, and yeah, Overeem's fucking dangerous. So he fought smart and tactically and got a real good win over a legend. Like, I don't want to Um, I don't want to underplay that. It's an incredible performance. But yeah, I'm just curious about why people are so excited about him. I guess maybe it's the down to heavyweight being so thin. A guy that comes in, executes game plans, has incredible gas tank. Fuck, his cardio's off the chart. And a guy that is winning and keeps winning. But yeah, I just don't know if fights he wins are gonna be very exciting because he likes to lay on dudes, and some people will probably appreciate that greatly. I appreciate the talent, but as a spectator, I'm not super excited about that. So, big win for Blades. You could imagine he'll work his way to a title shot. Be interesting to see how he would. So he's calling for it now. I don't know if he's ready for either Stipe or DC. Two guys who can maybe cancel out his wrestling, and if his wrestling's cancelled out against either of those guys, he'll be in trouble on the feet. So we'll see what happens there. Claudia Gadelha versus Carla Esparza. Esparza coming in as a huge underdog, and just before the fight the line shifted, so word is that news got out about Gadelha's knee injury, and people started thumping the line on Esparza's side, and the line shifted. So with that in mind, very close fight, but Gadelha did look like she was not as free to move as usual, so I think that did affect her. Crazy to see her get dropped by Esparza. That was fucking surprising. And so I had Gadelha in my parlay with Holmes, so I was pretty concerned, especially as the fight went deeper, because we have seen Gadelha have trouble with her gas tank before, but she hung in there. I thought she won the fight. Maybe I was biased because I had money riding on it, but very close fight. Good performance by Esparza. She looks to be improving. If you think back to her title defense against Joanna, fuck, she got made to look really, really bad in that fight, and has improved since and keeps looking better. So props to her. Good one for Gadelha. Bektik versus Lamas. Perhaps not as exciting as we thought it might be, but good fight nonetheless. Lamas is fucking tough, man. It was a hard fight, and once again, Bektik receiving a lot of critique about his propensity to wrestle when he doesn't need to. He has a crazy striking differential. He lands almost twice as much strikes as his opponents, and it seems strange that he doesn't stay and strike more and wants to wrestle, but I think perhaps that's just in his instinct, and be interesting to see if that develops in any way at all, because he is a great striker. But split decision again. Thought it was pretty easy to give it to Bektik though. Chris Della Rocca versus Rashad Coulter. Exciting first round. I think it was what people were expecting, and then so it was like went from a really entertaining, fun round to perhaps the worst round, or one of the worst rounds you've ever seen in MMA, where Della Rocca was in mount and couldn't fucking throw enough strikes to get the stoppage. It took like, I don't know, 3 minutes or some bullshit. It felt really bad for the referee, because what a weird situation to be in. Like, what was he supposed to do? Stand them up, finish the fight? So bizarre. But yeah, Della Rocca ends up getting the TKO. Anthony Smith versus Rashad. Not much to say about that. I hope Rashad retires. That was fucking horrible to see, and it's time. He's done. Sergio Pettis versus Joseph Benavidez, Sergio getting the split decision here. Once again, I think one you could have called either way. Huge first round for Sergio. I don't think Joseph Benavidez looked like vintage Joseph Benavidez. He'd obviously been out for a long time, so I don't know whether you put that down to ring rust or whether he's just depleting as a fighter due to age. But he appeared to get more and more comfortable as the fight went on, and yeah, he started to do a lot of interesting stuff in there, and came back quite well. I thought he'd come back well enough to take the fight, but the split went to Sergio, and Sergio's reaction when he got the split was pretty crazy. It looked like he didn't expect to win that fight whatsoever. So, but improvements from Sergio, the takedown defense looked heaps better, which is going to be important for him going forward. But just fuck, his lack of output in the second and then particularly in the third round is a concern, as he looks to move up and fight guys like Cejudo, and well, he's fought Cejudo, hasn't he? But if he's trying to get at DJ, then yeah, that's a real concern for him. Charles Oliveira versus Clay Guida. Man, Charles Oliveira looks so good sometimes, and this was one of those occasions. And yeah, he looked good on the feet, and then obviously he got the sub. Yeah, fuck, he looked like sometimes on occasions like this, you're like, this guy is incredible. And real strange again that he was talking about going back to 145 after that performance at 155, but go figure. And then the first fight of the night, the bet I lost, Dan Ige blasting the fuck out of Mike Santiago. Yeah, had the fight played out longer, I think my read might have come correct, but fuck, Ige went in there with something to prove, I think, and he just didn't give Santiago a chance to get in the fight whatsoever, and got him out of there in like 30 seconds or some shit. So really good performance for Ige. Hard to say what happens with Santiago now. That's 3 losses in a row. And I think he has shown in those first 2 losses that he like deserves to be there and he could win some fights. But yeah, we'll see what happens with him. Got to be tough. But yeah, poor dude. This game's fucking cruel, man. Like, he needed that win so bad, and Ige needed a win real bad also, and came in and fucking took that win. So props to him. What else we got here? Yeah, not too much else to discuss. They announced that Rousey will be inducted into the Hall of Fame, which I thought was interesting. I wasn't expecting it. And the reason being, not because I don't think she deserves it, but her exit was so strange, and that's kind of why it feels weird. You know, like most fighters who get inducted, there's been some kind of like formalization. I'm a big believer in endings and doing them properly. Well, I try to anyway. But yeah, so it feels like there's this gap. So her incredible career, the 2 devastating losses, and then just all this weirdness, and now she's getting inducted. So interesting, but well deserved. I think she did amazing things for the sport. No one can argue with that. So yeah, no fights this weekend, but I believe the Contender Series is on this week, so I may have some stuff to talk about regarding that. I haven't looked at the card or done any research, so don't think I'll be placing any bets at this point, but I will be as soon as we got odds for, like, some are already up for Cerrone versus Edwards. As soon as we got odds, I'll figure out my bets and do a predictions and bets video. Also trying to suss out how to do a video of decent quality where I'm video linked with my brother, who is a professional fighter, professional coach, professional little brother as well. So I want to do some videos with him. So if anyone has any tips of how to get good quality video link recording software or something of that nature, hit me up please, because that would be really helpful. And I could get an actual expert in here giving you guys some knowledge. He's got his camp has a big fight on this weekend actually, which I should shout out. Callan, the Rockstar Potter, best lightweight in Australia, world class lightweight. Like, this dude should be in the UFC, but obviously lightweight's so stacked it's fucking difficult. But yeah, he's got a fight against, what's his fucking name, ex-UFC guy. Should be real interesting. And fuck, Callan Potter's fights are so entertaining, man. Like, this dude's well rounded. He can strike, he can wrestle, he can grapple. So yeah, that's an exciting fight. Where is it? He is fighting Martian Held. Yeah, so, and that's on the ACB promotion. It's in Brisbane this weekend. So if you're Brisbane, I would really recommend going. And if not, I'm sure you can purchase the stream of it somewhere. ACB 88. So yeah, we'll be talking about that next week. I'm sure Callan's going to have a good result. Good skill to him. And yeah, I'll be back later in the week. But thanks heaps for watching. Please do subscribe, like the videos, all that shit. Give me some feedback. I didn't go into any today because they're all related to last week, which is nearly ancient history. So, but yeah, get at me.